All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing the second round NCAA tournament matchup between number 2 seed Tennessee and number 7 seed UCLA. That's in the Midwest region. Game takes place on Saturday, 8:40 p.m. Central Time on TBS or truTV at Rupp Arena in Lexington. So that game will be going on right after Auburn and Creighton in the South region. So, Max, it's set up Tennessee, UCLA. You got the Vols coming in off the victory against Wofford. We said Wofford was kind of that mid-major profile type team that if they made some threes, game could get a little interesting. Again, Tennessee wins by 15, but there were some stretches where, Wofford got a little bit hot. But Vols advance off of a big game from Chaz Lanier. Zakai Zeigler doing his thing, 12 assists, no turnovers in that game. Meanwhile, Tennessee fans were thinking, all right, we feel good about our performance. And then they went and watched UCLA just completely take it to Utah State, 72-47. A win in the 7-10 game there. Utah State could not get anything going. 4 of 31 from three. UCLA's defense had a bit to do with that. Speaking of threes, UCLA knocks them down at a pretty good rate, 10 of 24 for 42%. Made all 10 of their free throws. Just did a lot well in that game. There's no other way to put it. So, Max, that sets up an intriguing contest between two defensive-minded teams here, but two teams that also may feel like they don't get enough credit for what they do offensively.
This one is going to be closer than you think it's going to be. You might think it's going to be close. Spread is 4.5. The money lines aren't even into the 200s, Blake. We've got Tennessee as a minus 195 on the money line right now. That is going to be a tight one. For a 2-7, for a second-round matchup, you're getting only 4 points as a favorite. Would have loved to see Utah State, I think, if you're a Tennessee fan, because this UCLA defense, number one in the Big Ten in steal rate and turnover rate. Zakai Zeigler, first team SEC, he's going to have to put the team on his shoulders like he normally does with the assist to turnover ratio, because this is a UCLA defense that is nasty. Blake, you want to talk about a team that looks like they got 12 arms reaching for the ball every time you get inside the lane. Good luck hanging on to the ball against this UCLA defense. If you like offense, just you can kick the curb for this one. We're playing defense. All right. We're playing defense in the late night slate, Blake.
Yeah, I'm the biggest Zakai Zeigler fan there is. If he gets out of this game without a turnover, it will be one of the best performances we've seen, because they are going to force some mistakes. And I think, again, that's going to put some pressure on Tennessee when it comes to trying to, get things in a rhythm offensively. We talked about it. I mean, just anytime you have Chaz Lanier in positions where, he has an open shot, or even if, you've got a guy who's just not completely in his face, there's a good chance he can make that shot. And we've just seen that time and time again. So you're going to have to really, and we talk about the coaching matchup here too. Rick Barnes, Mick Cronin. Mick Cronin, again, I think from a game planning standpoint on the defensive end, how many years have we seen him do this, where you better believe he's going to come out with something interesting when it comes to trying to defend Lanier, knowing that he is who is going to make this Tennessee offense go. And you do expect this to be a slower type game, one of those where, would it shock any of us if this game's played in the 50s? Probably not. And so knowing that you feel like it's going to be a close game where every possession is significant, like you can't afford if you're UCLA to get out and let Chaz Lanier hit back-to-back threes, because all of a sudden a game that feels like it's going to be tight a lot of the way, swings out to a 6-point lead for Tennessee or something like that. And so that's what I'm most interested in this game. I want to see how Mick Cronin is going to draw up, knowing his team likes to force turnovers, they're going to be all over you. But specifically, how do they force somebody else, maybe other than Chaz Lanier, to try to beat them? And not to say Zeigler couldn't do it, Jordan Gainey couldn't do it, and so forth, but that's a big key when you're playing this Tennessee team.
Yeah, when I like to talk about the point distribution, a lot of times where the opponents are scoring the majority of their points from, are they getting them? Are they allowing the most from 3, from 2? Are they getting killed at the line, etc.? Both of these teams' defensive profiles, the exact same. I'm talking like scary close. But when you're talking about opponent points from 3, Tennessee's defense is 72nd in the nation. UCLA, 64. They both limit you from three. You are not getting what you normally think you get from three against these two defenses. But what they do allow is they funnel you inside. It's still not easy, but that's where they give up most of their points. Both teams in the top 65 of most opponent points from two, right there at the free throw line too. So you look offensively. Okay, if both these teams have the same defensive thing, try to take away opponent points from three, funnel them into the tough mid-range twos, and see if we can win with making them shoot tough twos. What team is better at tough twos? Well, they're about the same. So good luck finding a matchup in this one. You have where with Tennessee, Lanier's pull-up game, Milicic's pull-up game, right there with Dylan Andrews' pull-up game and Bilodeau's mid-range game. Like, it's like the same team is playing the same team.
Well, I think too, one of the things that, and I'm going to go back to the Torvik stats that we used, the filtering. Since February 16th was the number we put in because that was earlier in the week or whatever. Before the tournament started, if you go to the Midwest region, we said it, like Tennessee has been playing basically like a top 15 team in the country. But if you do kind of look at UCLA's profile outside of that stretch from late December to mid-January, where they lost 5 of 6 in there, I think it was, and the team they beat was Gonzaga in that stretch. Outside of that, like they've won some close games, they've lost some close games, like but that's what you expect, right? You expect this to be a profile of a team that plays a lot of close games because like you can look at them, beat Wisconsin by 2 at home on January 21st, beat Michigan State at home by 2, lost to Illinois by 5, won in Indiana by 4, lost at home to Minnesota by 3. Just so those kind of different games down the stretch. And remember too, I know everyone knows this, but it's like when we used to see UCLA, Max, what was the first thing we thought of? We're like, all right, they're playing in the Pac-12. It's a league that, all right, not the most physical. No, like they're in the Big Ten now. And so to have some of these numbers and be able to do some of these things, I think against some of these stronger Big Ten opponents, like we can't just look at UCLA the way we did in the past necessarily. We have to kind of, again, give them credit. But Mick Cronin's always had physical defensive teams. And I think Tennessee is a physical defensive team too. So, like you said, it's like these two teams are just, they're not clones, but there are a lot of similarities when it comes to what they do well.
Yeah, it's tough to try to find angles in this game where matchup wise they can, take advantage. The only thing that I'm really seeing like within the numbers would be, I mean, it's a stretch, but it's just Tennessee does not foul as much as UCLA fouls. They both don't get there a ton offensively, but Tennessee does a bit better job at defending without fouling. They're 81st in the country in defensive free throw rate, where UCLA is back at 209th. So if this does become a 51 to 53 game with 3 minutes left and every possession feels like it's taken 60 seconds instead of 30, and you gotta feel like you have to score on every possession because a 4-point deficit would feel like it's 8. Yeah. That's where Akpar staying on the court, Milicic staying on the court, that could be the difference compared to if a Bilodeau, a Mara, or a Daly, someone in the front court for UCLA, may be a little bit more prone to foul trouble here.
Yep. All right. I think this is one where we're probably gonna, like I said, this is not an easy one because I do feel like when you think about, it's hard to expect this to be a game where either team is just sitting there with a double-digit lead at any point. I feel like it's going to be close just based on how they play, but curious where you're at on this.
So for the SEC Saturday slate, I have picked the SEC so far in each game, I believe. Is that right, Blake? I think I have every game.
I have too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I hate to do it. Vols fans, think of it as a gift from Max Barr. Think of it as a gift. I'm going to go with UCLA in the upset. Think of it as a gift.
You had to pick one somewhere. And our
Yep.
other choices were Texas A&M, Michigan, Auburn, Creighton, or Arkansas, St. John's. Um, you would think Arkansas, St. John's was probably the one that we may have should have punted that on, but still, we've seen Arkansas do this before. We've seen UCLA, again, be in a position where can make a run. Like that's not something that can happen just based on their profile. But I like Tennessee in terms of the way that I think they're going to defend in this game, and I don't know that UCLA gets some of those looks that they got, let's say, for example, in a Utah State type setting where they did go 10 of 24 from three. That was sort of a game where that was a bit of an outlier if you look at UCLA's overall profile, right? They don't get a ton of their points from three. And I think if I look back at it here, they've kind of been on a hot streak. Like they made 10 against USC. Again, they make 10 against Utah State. A couple of these games down the stretch, like they have shot a pretty nice percentage. Whereas I just think Tennessee's the kind of team we've seen time and time again, the way they pressure you on the perimeter, they make it really hard to get those kind of shots. And so it could be a bit of a big contrast in terms of what Tennessee can do versus what Utah State could do defensively, because Utah State was just not a great defensive team. And so I do wonder if that completely different sort of change from one game to the next gives Tennessee a little bit of an advantage here. I'm going to pick the Vols. But again, all these second round games worry me for SEC teams. We don't feel good about any of these. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Man.
And again, you guys can be like, well, come on, you're the SEC guys. You're supposed to tell us we're all going to win by 20. That's not what we do, as we said. We just we know how good these other teams are. And I think, again, I know defensively the things that Mick Cronin could do to bring back some of those nightmares of Tennessee having offensive stretches where they can't score. So important to get Lanier going early and often here, but this will be a nail biter, I think, from beginning to the finish. So there you have it.
I think it may come down to the Daly versus Milicic kind of glue guy X factor production. Watch out for that matchup right there. It probably determines a lot.
Yeah, and I think too. I think Veason brought it up. Tennessee 2-5 against the spread in games in March so far. 2-5.
Oof.
So
man.
Also not something in their favor. So we'll see. All right. There are picks for that. Check out our friends at BracketBids. Again, check out everything they got going on over there. Hope you're enjoying the Pick'em or the Auction Draft League if you check that out. Download the BracketBids app today. Visit them at bracketbids.com. Appreciate you guys watching. Check out all of our other previews for the SEC second round matchups. We'll be reacting live to everything going on Saturday as well. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. We appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.